I'm here tonight with an open heart that has pain. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. What a man, a husband, a father, an inspirational soul. I have so much to share that I'm afraid to share, but on behalf of Charlie's courage, and that his number one goal in life was to be courageous in sharing his faith and his wisdom and his insight and his knowledge, extensive knowledge. So I'm going to honor his legacy and do my best to do him proud. Right after I heard that he passed, I knew that his death would be more powerful than his life. And we're seeing that today in profound, profound ways. People praying, going to church, bringing together community, honoring their country, honoring their faith, their friends, their family, all the things that Charlie stood up for, all the things that we can still stand up for in his name, in our own names. Speaking of names, why am I here tonight? It's based on something that Charlie also said. On July 16th, 2025, Charlie said something that surprised people. He said, Mary is the solution. And I guess he's Protestant. I don't know a lot about what type of Christianity he practiced. But Mary, Jesus' mother, isn't a very prominent figure like she is in Catholicism. But he reminded everyone that Mary, Jesus' mother, he said, Jesus' vessel, participated in early Christianity. Early Christianity was about self-love, Christ consciousness within. And it was interesting to hear him make that connection to early Christianity, because on that same day, I emailed about that exact same topic to people in Red Pill, prominent leaders in Red Pill, and about all the signs and synchronicities about who I may have been in a past life and who my man from childhood may have been in a past life. And so I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to speak about Mary being the solution. Now, he mentioned Jesus' mother, Mary, but there's another Mary related to Jesus that I recently learned about. And even though I have a master's degree in religious studies, I went east. I didn't go west. So I didn't know about the love story between Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I didn't know that Mary, Jesus' mother, was very close to Mary Magdalene. They went to a high priestess school together. And I believe they proselytized together after Jesus' death. So they had a very close relationship. And she, in her gospel, talks about self-love, Christ consciousness within. Don't need a church because self-love happens within. We all hear change is an inside job. If you want to change the world, you have to change yourself. Well, that's what early Christians were talking about. So, and he also talked about toxic feminism. And I was definitely a feminist, and I've healed from that. So I have knowledge and experience to speak about the challenges that I faced when I was a feminist, how unhealthy I was, my body, my thoughts, my relationships, very, very unhealthy. So I know exactly what he's talking about, that Mary is the solution. So I'm here to share all the signs and synchronicities that my soul is the same soul as Mary Magdalene. And my guy from my childhood, who I call my original hero, Jason Colvin, who's currently the head of global security at GoDaddy, is potentially Jesus Christ in the same soul. So let me see that. I can't speak for him, but I have to say who it is. So the first sign in synchronicity are his initials, JC. The second sign is my birthday, June 25th, which is exactly opposite of December 25th. June 25th astrologically is divine feminine energy. It's the cardinal water sign, the cardinal emotional sign. Women are the emotional center. That's why that is the cardinal emotional sign, Cancer. That's me. December 25th is the cardinal earth sign, earth is water. Emotions earth is masculine. So emotions are water. And then we need the earth to corral our emotions and hold those boundaries. But earth also needs our water for fuel, for growth. And that's how we complement each other. So first we have those couple synchronicities. Then my middle name. My middle name is May, Carrie May. And when I researched, May in Jesus, I reached that, and what came up? Oh, the month of May in Catholicism is dedicated to Jesus's mother, Mary, and middle names honor a family member. And so I was like, okay, well, they were close. So that makes sense that all of these, my soul planned my life with these signs and synchronicities to help me reveal my truth. So, I didn't know this until recently. I said, I guess I'll go by how I found this out. So I found out those things around my birthday this year in 2025. And then I started doing more research around some things that I was told last fall, right after I reached out to Jason for the first time in 40 years. And, let me back up a second. Let me start in 2021. So I didn't know this until like a month ago, that the Cathars from southern France, kind of like Da Vinci Code, prophetized that Mary Magdalene would return in 2021. But I didn't know this in 2021. I only knew this within the last month or so. So in my book, My Inner Heroine, Exploring Feminine Pain, there's 6 heroes. And 6 men who help mirror my wounds back to me for healing purposes. The first hero, we had our first longer conversation on December 30th, 2020. Now, I had just returned from Sedona. I went to Phoenix, and I was born in Scottsdale. So go daddies in Phoenix, okay? So I went back to Phoenix and Scottsdale and saw my youngest uncle. And I talked to him about the sexual abuse I had, kind of remembered with my father. And while telling him, my body was like convulsing like that for about 5 minutes in the restaurant, telling him like that's how hard it was to get that truth out of me. Then I went to Sedona for winter solstice 2020 to bring in the age of Aquarius, which is, spiritual awakening, ascension. And then when I came home, a few days after I came home on December 30th, I had my first conversation with the first hero, Tim. And it was the first time, so I had had 35 years of debilitating lower back pain. I wasn't able to use my voice to protect myself well enough in my childhood. So I took on a lot of wounds, sexual wounds. I repressed my femininity. So my whole lower back hurt because I was hating on my womb, my ability to create. So I had a hard time cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, exercising, very, very painful. But what I didn't realize is when in that first conversation with him, he brought up Israel. My ex-husband's Israeli. He brought up Israel, and I jumped into the conversation. And I said who I was and my name, and he asked me if I know my ex-husband. I'm like, well, yeah, that's my ex-husband. And so he spoke to me in Hebrew. So I spoke back a little in Hebrew. And then he wanted more information. It got tough. And I just was like, I kept my feminine backbone and my voice was strong. I held that strong counterbalance. And and my lower back pain went away immediately. I was like, okay, how did that happen? Yay, me. But it was just gone for the first time in 35 years. What I didn't know, that the Cathars said she returned in 2021, but what does it mean that she returned? My voice was returning. Women, we protect ourselves. Communication is feminine, action is masculine. So women protect themselves with their voices. So with no voice, it's hard for me to protect myself and speak up for myself and be able to request help and communicate my needs and hold space for my man's needs because I was just so messed up. That happened. And then 2 months later was the first time I ever prayed to Jesus. And because I was told I would experience enlightenment with a man different than Tim, which I didn't want at the time. So I asked for help, and it was the first time. And around that time, I started hearing that I'm on the Jesus Council. I'm like, well, Jesus Council, like, what does that mean? Like, what? Jesus, what? What? Okay. I'm like, okay, keep going, you know. And then I started hearing that my intuition, were on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers. Now, my original hero that I met, I think, in elementary school and then we were in high school together in the early 80s was totally into Animal House. We had toga parties at school and wore Ray-Bans all the time, just like the Blues Brothers. So when I heard that, I was like, you know, I hadn't remembered Jason that well. So I'm like, I didn't know it was him. So, but you know, now that makes sense. And so I'm hearing these things. I'm like, okay, you know, I keep going. And then I experienced enlightenment the first time in March of 2024, and Jason came through for the first time. I was like, well, whoa, what's going on there? Okay, yeah, I got a picture of him on my phone, but I hadn't put all the pieces together. So, and last fall, when I was guided to reach out to him, I started being told that I'm an agent of God. I'm like, agent of God? Like, what do you mean I'm an agent of God? Like, that doesn't make sense to me, that I'm an agent of God. What does that mean? I mean, aren't all souls an agent of God? Like, okay, I don't know. And then I heard that agents of God hide things in one lifetime so that we can be recovered in another. And so what I learned recently is that the Mary's Gospel was discovered in 1897, but written 2,000 years ago. And another gospel of her, the Mary Gospel, was found in 1945. Well, it was in the 6th century that the Pope then decided that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. It was like a 600 years later decision. And so then she was shamed her whole life and buried her whole life. But we weren't ready for her wisdom, but we're ready now. And let me stop for a second.